Hello everybody, I'm Bede, aka The Terrible Australian, the co-host of Super Podcasts and as well as a contributor to supermastery.com, and welcome to the third edition of my 2012 MIFF video reviews. For this one, I'll be reviewing the new found footage anthology horror film VHS, and as well as William Friedkin's new film Killer Joe. So let's get right into it. First up, VHS. VHS tells the story of a group of criminals who like to videotape their escapades and their crimes. And then one day they get hired by this mysterious client to go to this house to retrieve a videotape. Now, the criminals don't know exactly what tape they're looking for. All they know is what their client told them, and that was, you'll know it when you see it. So they go to the house and they discover that there's videotapes everywhere. So they decide to grab a bunch of random tapes and to watch them one by one and hopefully find which one that they're looking for. As they search for the right one, they discover to their horror that each videotape that they are watching becomes more terrifying and more scary than the last. And that's basically where the anthology aspect of the story comes in. There's about five stories. There's about five stories, and as well as the wraparound segment. And I have to admit, I was very much looking forward to this film because it's sort of a combination of two different types of subgenres in horror that I really enjoy, which are found footage films and anthology films. And I thought, combine these two things together and you just got a pretty cool package of awesomeness right there. And the fact that I've seen a lot of the films that some of these directors have made gave me high hopes for this film. Well, I did have fun with it, but unfortunately it ended up being mostly as a disappointed. Like I said before, while I was watching it, I was really into it. I had a lot of fun. But it's just when I left afterwards that, after watching it and sort of thinking about it for a while, it just ended up just disappointing me even more, and I just kept thinking less and less of it time after. I think the main problem is that if I had to describe this film, I personally believe it's a film where the concept is great, but the execution is not good. This film kind of suffers the same kind of problems that both the found footage subgenre and the anthology subgenre sometimes fall into. With the found footage, you got a lot of shaky cam, that sometimes the acting isn't very good or it doesn't feel as naturalistic, and sometimes the editing can be really choppy and a little frustrating. And the problems with the anthology aspect is that you got some stories that are pretty good, but then you have these sort of weaker stories in there. I guess I won't say what the stories are, because I think it's best not to know anything about them, because it's more fun that way. I say David Bruckner's short. At first, I found this one a little frustrating for at least the first half, because the editing in the first half of his segment was very choppy. But the second half of his segment, when it actually takes time to get to the payoff of the story, it actually is really good, and it actually was pretty awesome, I have to say. And I think the payoff for this one definitely redeems it. The second segment, made by Ty West, is definitely one of my favorite one of the stories, and this one had the acting in this one is very naturalistic. It feels real. It feels like an actual home video, and also it has some really scary moments in it. And this isn't like boo type scares or anything, but these are some really intense moments that actually had both myself and the audience I saw it with on the edge of our seats. I'm not sure what to make of the payoff of the segment though. Like, it works in the context of the story, and it's one I didn't suspect, but I don't know, there was something about it that didn't quite set right with me. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but it'll be interesting to talk with other people who have seen the film to hear other thoughts on that. The third story by Glenn McQuaid is definitely one of the weaker stories in the film. It actually has some really cool ideas in it, and the second half of his story is really cool, and it brings a lot of really interesting visual elements and cool ideas that I found unique. But I personally found the acting in this short story to be pretty bad. When you sort of compare this one to the acting in the other stories, which feel very real and naturalistic, this one comes across as feeling very fake and very that it doesn't feel real or naturalistic at all. And also the plot, like I said, even though it has some cool ideas with it, but the initial plot of it is really dumb. Now for the fourth segment, which was directed by Joe Swanberg. Now this one started off really promising. It actually had a lot of scary and creepy moments. I was really into it. I was on the edge of my seat. But then there's a turn within the story in this segment that I find a bit bizarre, and I'm not sure what to make of it. And I don't know. I just didn't feel like it worked at all. At least it. But the final segment of the film, which is done by Radio Silence. Now this one is my favorite one. It was an absolute ball. This one. It was basically a non-stop fun roller coaster of scares, and it kind of reminded me in a way of Wreck as well. Like I say, I won't spoil what it's about, but I had a lot of fun with this one, and it's definitely of the stories, it's definitely my favorite. The wraparound story, which was directed by Adam Wingard, is definitely my least favorite aspect of the film, even though there are some cool elements and scenes and a couple good scares in there, but I don't know, I just didn't feel like it really worked, unfortunately. I guess sort of looking back on the film, it's sort of some of the stories and the whole film as a whole, like some stories start off promising but had really weak payoffs, or some stories start off rather weak but had great payoffs. It's a definite love it or hate it film. Definitely hearing the reaction afterwards after this film with the audience, some enjoyed it, others hated it, and I think if you don't like found footage films, you're definitely most likely going to hate this one. But if you like them, you'll definitely enjoy it. Like I said, I had fun with it, and there's some cool ideas. It's just too much of a mixed bag for me. Like I said in my mini Twitter review, when it's good, it's really good, but when it's dumb, it's really dumb. So, if I had to give it a rating out of 5, I give it a 2.5 stars. And now for my next film is Killer Joe. I'm not going to spoil what the plot is. You can easily find out what the plot's about on IMDb or Wikipedia. Like, I knew a little bit of the plot, but I didn't know too much about it. But I think this film works better if you do not go knowing anything about it at all. And I'll tell you why. Because a lot of things happen in this film that I did not see coming, and I have to say that this I guess my only reaction to Killer Joe is that I absolutely love this movie. It is absolutely brilliant, completely outrageous, and just absolutely fantastic from beginning to end. And I'll say this about the film: it has probably one of the best climaxes I have seen in a movie in a long time, and it's a climax that I think people are going to remember long after they see this movie. The audience I saw this with absolutely loved it, and it's probably one of the best crowd experiences I have ever seen in any film, because everyone was so into it, and and they just ate it all up. It's just absolutely fantastic, and this film is definitely going to be a cult classic for sure. And I highly recommend everyone to check it out. I think it's one of the best films I've seen this year, and it's definitely going to make my top 10 at the end of the year. And I'm just going to go out and say it. I think Killer Joe is probably William Friedkin's best film since The Exorcist. And I'm not joking when I say that. I honestly think it's his best since that film. And his direction is fantastic. The performances are terrific. It's fantastically written. It's chilling. It's disturbing. It's thrilling. And what surprised me most, it's absolutely hilarious. It is, even though it's a thriller, it's also a dark comedy. And I was absolutely just pissing myself laughing by everything that's happening in this movie. It is absolutely hysterical, and there's one joke in particular, which I won't spoil, that involves Thomas Hayden Church and Gina Gershon. They had this one scene in particular in a lawyer's office, and it's just absolutely hilarious. The crowd was just rolling on the floor with this scene. It's just brilliant, but definitely, like, everyone in the film's great. Amelia Hirsch was terrific. Thomas Hayden Church is fantastic. So is Gina Gershon. She puts in a really brave performance, especially towards the end of the film, because she's involved in a moment that I think is going to be the scene that everyone's going to remember from this film. And also Juno Temple is terrific as well. But definitely, without a doubt, the best performance in the film is Matthew McConaughey. Like, if you hated Matthew McConaughey for the last couple of years because he kept doing, like, either mediocre films or this crappy rom-coms or whatever, this is the film that is going to show you how much of a fantastic actor he is. And it goes back to the type of performances that he did earlier in his career that showcase how much of a great actor he could be, like Time to Kill, Amistad, Contact, Dazed and Confused. Killer Joe his performance as Killer Joe is definitely the best performance of his career. He is absolutely fantastic. He's absolutely electrifying from beginning to end. It's a mixture of both of that's creepy and hilarious, and you just can't take your eyes off the screen whenever he's on. He owns every scene. It's a brilliant performance, and if I had my way, he'd be up for an Oscar nomination. He is that fantastic. I love this film. It is absolutely fantastic, and it's a film that everyone has to see, and believe me, you won't regret it. It's definitely a film that won't work for everyone because it is pretty insane, but if you just go along with it, you're going to have a fantastic time. And my rating for it definitely is a 5-star rating. So yeah, those are my reviews for VHS and Killer Joe. I hope you enjoyed them, and keep a lookout for my 4th edition of my video reviews, in which I'll be talking about Billy Bob Thornton's return to the director's chair with Jane Mansfield's Car, and as well as the End of the World romantic comedy Seeking a Friend for the End of the World, starring Steve Carell and Keira Knightley. Alright, I'll see you all then. Bye!